Starting live. Excellent. Hello, ThunderQuack.
Hello, ThunderQuack.
I'm Amanda Konkin, one of the co-hosts of Quiver, the Green Arrow podcast on the ThunderQuack network. And it's my pleasure to host the Wonder Woman Spoilercast for this month. So obvious caveats, this is a Spoilercast. If you haven't seen Wonder Woman yet, you should watch it first and then join us for the Spoilercast. There's going to be lots of spoilers. We're going to talk about the movie from start to finish and all the things we loved about it, things that we thought could be better. So joining me on the ThunderQuack podcast today is somebody that's actually not from ThunderQuack or from the DC TV podcast network, but sitting next to me is Andrew Lynch.
Hello, I'm Andrew Lynch.
Andrew is known West Coast Geeks versus Nerds, which is a local comedy event here in Vancouver, BC. Also does podcasts.
Also podcasts?
Yeah, yep. So podcasts are available online.
Geeksversusnerds.com. We do like comedy debates. Like the most recent one we did was Katniss Everdeen versus Neo, or who is we debate like who's a better revolutionary.
Yeah.
But like with comedians, we don't take it seriously.
Yeah. One
One of my points was that her heart started beating more than 50 miles an hour. It would explode if it went down below. You know, we do not take the debates seriously by any means.
So it's really interesting. They did a Wonder Woman debate as well, Wonder Woman versus Xena, but that one's not available in a podcast yet. But anyways, so Andrew Lynch joining me from West Coast Geeks versus Nerds. Also, the Portal musical, which if people have seen it, it's online on YouTube. They're a local company here.
Portal 2, the musical. Geekenders put that on.
Yeah. So that's cool. So that's where you know Andrew from. And then joining us on the interwebs is Andy. Introduce yourself.
Hello guys, I'm Andy B. I actually don't host any show on the ThunderQuack network. I just help Michael out every once in a while with the social media stuff. But I host the Flash podcast, which is a sister show to Quiver the Green Arrow podcast. That's we're part of the big DCT podcast umbrella. And I'm excited to talk about Wonder Woman with you guys.
Excellent. We always like Andy coming on to our shows on ThunderQuack because especially this Wonder Woman, I feel like throughout the whole journey of learning of the movie first coming out to now, Andy has been sort of our go-to source for information when it comes to Wonder Woman things. So thank you, Andy, and thank you for being here with us today. And of course, Quiver Podcast is part of the ThunderQuack network, but also we are part of the DC TV podcast network as well, where Andy is on the Flash. So multiple networks that we're a part of. So thanks for joining us today. And let's dive right in. Because Wonder Woman, we should sort of have this caveat. I feel like all three of us are coming at this from a place of we really liked the movie. So
yeah, I really liked it. I really liked the movie. And I had very low expectations based on Man of Steel, which was super boring. And then I plugged my ears and closed my eyes for the end of Man of Steel. It was just so noisy. Batman versus Superman, I couldn't finish. That last fight was just so noisy. There's lightning and crap everywhere. I'm watching my language. It was just a mess. And this was much more coherent. It wasn't without some of that, but it was much more contained. And yeah.
That was, I think, what a lot of people were tempering their expectations and putting a lot of weight onto Wonder Woman as being the show that would make or break the DC expanded universe, the movie universe, but also that they didn't have high expectations for it because DC, the movies had come from such a place of mixed reviews, people not really liking them. And so Andy, what was your sort of, did you go into this with high expectations or did you temper your expectations how we sort of did?
I mean, I feel like since, because I have to see this movie from two ways, like, both as a fan and also as someone that covers news about it, almost every week. And these two past weeks, I feel all I've written about is Wonder Woman. But I believed in this movie since Gal Gadot showed up in BBS. I think she, like, in just a few, like, she didn't have much screen time. She had maybe like 20 minutes total, and she still stole the show. And after meeting the director herself, Patty Jenkins, back in February, seeing that this is one of the most passionate directors I've ever got to talk to, because I don't get to talk to that many people, but also I've seen just talk about their film and like putting all their work into it. So there was never a moment when I was doubting Wonder Woman. I was worried about Wonder Woman because I knew that this, like, even though I'm a huge DCEU fan, I can admit that there's been legit concern for the other DC films that had come out previously. But I feel like with Wonder Woman, I was like, they got this. They got this. They lasted it completely. So yes, I was never worried. I felt very confident, and that it actually manage to exceed my expectations.
And did it exceed your expectations, or did it sort of meet them? Were you like pleasantly surprised?
It went beyond them. Like I knew that, oh my God, I'm gonna love this. But like when I came out of it, I was like, I normally don't go see films like more than once in the theaters because financial reasons. But this is a film I'm considering go maybe 2 or 3 more times to see before I'm like, okay, I'm waiting till DVD, because it's just like it says something when a movie makes me fall in love with it that much for me to be like, you know what, I will spend money the times to go see it.
I've actually been really itching to go again. Now, it's Monday. We're recording on Monday, and I saw it on Saturday night. And Sunday was like torture for me because I really wanted to see it again. And even today, I'm kind of like, I really want to see it again. And I wanted to so much so that actually last night, I did throw back on Batman versus Superman. Because, I mean, if you listen to Quiver Podcast, you know that I really do love the Superman character and forgive a lot of the faults of the movie just because I really love Superman. I despise Batman. So I don't really like the Batman versus Superman movie, but I did love Wonder Woman in that movie, and I kind of wanted just any more of her that I could get, especially that amazing theme song. But I couldn't watch it. I was sort of so disappointed going back into it after coming off of this high of seeing a movie that finally exceeded my expectations. And I have to say, I mean, we'll talk about a lot of different parts of it, but in terms of like a superhero movie, Wonder Woman has been my best superhero movie experience so far. And I haven't seen it multiple times. There's a lot of other movies that I've seen multiple times. So we'll see if it holds up after all the sort of emotions have worn off. But I'm really excited by it. And it gave me visceral feelings that I haven't had in a really long time when it comes to movies.
It felt like a superhero movie. Like she wanted to be a superhero. She went to, like, the No Man's Land scene was one of my favorite things that I've seen in the theater in a long time. Just because she was like, I have to be a superhero now. I want to do this. I want to go and charge into the battlefield and inspire. Yeah.
So there's a few things, and I'm interested to see sort of both of your reviews of things, but I just want to lay out a whole bunch of things that we can actually talk about during the spoiler casts that are coming up everywhere, and I keep reading lots of different articles and things that are coming up. As a woman, and I've been reading a lot of tweets from other women, one of the ones that stood with me most is that someone said, no wonder this must be what men feel like all the time. Coming out of one superhero movie starring a woman, I just feel like I could take on 1,000 men barefisted. And it's like so true that you see yourself represented in a film and sort of like this woman who loves babies and ice cream and is so powerful and can kill a god. And it's just, that was, to me, I think, one of the things that resonated most after hearing that is that, yeah, there were so many things in this movie that were exactly what I wanted, and I didn't even know that I wanted them because I didn't know that they were missing in my experience of a movie. But there was so much that I'm hoping would resonate with people that weren't just females that were watching a female superhero. But I mean, there's so much diversity in this cast that, again, until reading all of the reviews, you didn't quite know going into it. I was so focused on it being this movie about this female superhero that I didn't think about all the things it could be just as a superhero movie. And in terms of all of the other cast of characters that are in the movie. Particularly, and a lot of things that people are talking about is the character of the Chief, played by Eugene Braverock, I want to say is his name. And one of the things that I heard was that apparently in the film, and they translate a lot, we'll talk about language because I know that Andrew has some things to say about subtitles and different kinds of language. But they did subtitle a lot of the different languages in the film. You okay there?
Is that it?
Okay.
Okay, I'm alive. We're good.
They did subtitle a lot of the different languages, but they didn't actually subtitle his introduction to Wonder Woman. So when he meets her, apparently he speaks in Blackfoot, and it's just a little Easter egg for people that understand that language to sort of see this character reflected, like, just for them, which was really exciting because that's a moment that wasn't presented to anybody that has no experience of the Blackfoot language. Like, that wasn't a moment for me. That was for other people. And it's just great that there are little moments like that throughout. I went to the show with another, a woman who's an actor here in Vancouver, and during the part where Gal Gadot is, I don't know all of the character names. is bad. Saeed?
Princess Bride?
Samir? Is that his name?
Which?
That might be the actor's name.
Wait, who are you talking about?
Pardon?
Who are you talking about?
Well, the actors in the show, or the characters in the show. So Gal Gadot.
The Ottoman guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and have that moment where he says, "I want to be an actor."
Oh, Sammy.
Yes. Yeah. Is it Sammy?
It is Sammy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, and when she's talking to him, she is saying, or he's saying, "I want to be an actor, but I have the wrong color skin." And then my friend sort of nudged me and was like, "Yeah, that's a thing, that like representation in Hollywood is today still an issue. Could you imagine what it was like back, in the early 1900s when people are trying to make a living doing what they love?" So there was just little moments throughout, and then also the other character played by Ewan Brenner. I really should have a cheat sheet. If you listen to Quiver, you know that we kind of win.
I can pull up IMDb. It's fine. It's
that would be great. But anyways, dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. When he's a warrior, he's a warrior. He's an army guy. He shoots people. He's a sniper. He kills people. But when it actually comes down to it, that he actually can't take the shot he needs to, and has that reaction to it, and when he's sleeping and he wakes himself up, right? And that is something that nobody ostracizes him for, or they just realize that this is a part of who he is and his life experience. And so
he sees ghosts.
Yeah. And so there's all these different little pieces in the movie that are so important, and not at all what the movie is about. And I think that that's what's really important, is that you show all of these different experiences and different lives on screen in a way that's real and sincere, and that people can connect with. And it gives the movie so much more life and so many more things to be excited for as an audience member. So it's not just about this awesome kick-ass female on screen, but about all the people that surround her, and actually what the story is all about. So that's just my initial, I just had to say that, because that was one of the things that in the after fact, when you're sort of analyzing it critically, I've been reading a lot of articles, and those are the things that are coming out that people are really resonating with as they reflect upon the film. So I don't know. Have you heard? Yes, sorry. Go ahead, Andy.
You're good.
I was just going to say, what are the reactions that you've been hearing the most on the internet? Because I know that I'm very much in a very specific bubble where I get a lot of this great sort of, it's an echo chamber where it's a lot of similar views to me. Have you noticed that sort of similar experience is happening in your world?
Oh yeah, I've seen similar reactions. Not to bring up, I don't want to cause a fight or anything like that. The biggest reaction I've seen, it's not so much about the film itself, but it's more about, I've seen a lot of female critics and report, for fair reasons, they really want to make sure that, the voices of women are heard, about this film. But I've seen some people that have taken it to maybe too far by saying, male critics, their reviews of Wonder Woman doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. Someone even, I've seen people say, men shouldn't even be allowed to review Wonder Woman. I'm like,
seriously? Oh.
Like, probably.
Girl, I will show you. I will show you later. And I'm like,
I'm sure you've seen it, but I can't imagine that's a lot of people. I imagine those people. I don't doubt their existence, but
hopefully.
Yeah, no, but I've sadly seen that, and it's like,
as opposed to person has said this.
Exactly, and it's like, they're entitled to their opinion to say that, but it's kind of like if this is their decision to. If this is how they want to approach talking about Wonder Woman, then I feel they missed the whole point of Wonder Woman. One of the statements that I love from Melissa Benoist, who plays Supergirl, she said this in an interview with Stephen Campbell 2 years ago. He was asking her, do you like seeing your show being this kind of feminist icon or whatever, having this feminist input? And she was like, yeah. And I think what's so feminist about it is that it is for everyone. And I think that's what Wonder Woman should be too, because yes, I think it's horrible that Hollywood has taken this long to give us a great female superhero movie. And look at all the success it has. It's already been a major box office success, critical acclaim, everything. But it's kind of like, but remember, there are just because some men may not appreciate the true value of female superhero movies, that doesn't mean that all of us men are bad. Because I came out of that theater and I went with 3 friends who they don't read comics. They don't care. They always tag along with the comic movies so I can explain to them like all the Easter and so on, so they can just be like, hey, Andy, what does that mean? What does that mean? I'm like, shut up.
Andy, you were the first person I texted after I got out of the movie because I know I'm like, of all the people that'll appreciate that I love Wonder Woman so much, it'll be Andy.
Oh yeah, but these guys, they're like, they're like, you've read comics. These guys have like never read comics. They're just like, they bring me with me just so I can translate. So what's that Easter egg or what's that belt or what's that gun? I'm like, it's, and then I go on for 20 minutes. But yeah, but for Wonder Woman, I just feel that, if people want to have that view of that, they don't want to share or hear men's thoughts on Wonder Woman, that's fair. But I feel that's not then, for me, that's not feminism in its true color. I feel like that's kind of almost the reverse. It's kind of like, how women have been treated by men in the past like 60, 70 years. It's almost like the reverse of like, well, we're claiming this movie as ours, and men have no entitlement to it at all whatsoever.
You're bringing up a really great point that I was really hoping would come up organically and I wouldn't just have to talk about it. There was an article that I chose not to read, but the title of it was, "Why Isn't Wonder Woman the Hero of Her Own Film?" And they know that in that they're probably referring to Steve Trevor, because Trevor's his last name, right? Steve Trevor. Is that the person that makes the ultimate sacrifice in the movie and the one that sort of saves the day, as it were, is the male lead, right? And that is something that I actually am really excited to talk about, because I think that was one of the coolest parts for the movie for me, was actually Steve Trevor as a character and the way that he was presented on screen, and his relationship to Wonder Woman. And I've talked about this before on Quiver or other podcasts that I've done on ThunderQuack, where I talk about my favorite hero being Superman. And one of the reasons for that is I actually love Lois Lane. She's my favorite DC character from the comics and all the iterations of Superman. The reason I watch them is I watch them for Lois Lane, because she was the character that I connected to most. And through her, I have an appreciation for Superman. He's my favorite superhero. Although I have to say, like, I haven't experienced Wonder Woman really through comics or through television until this movie in the same way, that I might be shifting a little bit towards Wonder Woman, just because of again, I hadn't had something to connect to. But if I say that the reason I like Superman is actually through the female lead of that series, then I think that the idea that people could connect with Steve Trevor, like if there's some men that were watching the movie that maybe didn't connect to all the stuff that Wonder Woman was doing, but actually really saw him as this great outlet, I'm like, that's great. I already have that. I have that in my things. If you don't identify with the protagonist, there's somebody there that you can identify with. And when we present something that's from maybe a female gaze, which I think is a really interesting thing that I could talk about later in this, that there was a lot of things that were shaped through like a female lens, that when you're watching the movie, if you don't see the world through that lens, you might not connect to it in the same way. It's what women have had to do for many years when they watch movies that are through a male gaze or a male lens, that they have to actually adjust their expectations, find somebody that they do connect to, and connect to the story in that way. And I think that we're slowly starting to open up. This is the first movie I've seen that is sort of opening up that sphere so that men can maybe understand what that is like, right? That you don't have to connect to the lead character. You can find people around her to connect to, and in the same way, get something really great and powerful out of that story. So I'm hoping that as much as there is criticism of, again, I didn't read the article because I chose to be in my own little bubble, but I'm projecting upon that. But I think that Steve is a great character and was so funny and was such a great lead. And I think that the romantic interests of heroes are part of what makes them human and what makes them interesting, what makes them exciting to watch. So the fact that Chris Pine, I have watched all the Star Trek movies that he's in, and I really do like him as an actor. This was my favorite role that he's done, and
mine too.
I really like all the stuff that he's done. I think he just blew it out of the park, and I think that that's great if you can recognize that and really connect with it. So it's not exactly what you're talking about, Andy, but I think it's this idea that just because there is a male lead in a female superhero movie where there is a female lead as well, doesn't mean that we have to somehow silence the voices that are connecting to that. I think that it opens up a place for different conversation. So
yeah, and I saw
between Steve. So I have to talk the romance between Steve and Diane was one of my favorite. Actually, I think it was my favorite thing about the movie, was that the romance was not all shoehorned in, which is one of my biggest pet peeves. And I had so many worries about it. One of my biggest worries was that Steve Trevor would have a bigger arc than her.
Right, yeah.
One of my worries was that it would be, I mean, I'm so glad it wasn't, because one of my biggest worries was that this would be just tripe jokes about, oh, we don't need men to do this, oh, the toilet seat's up, or like, you know, feminism is a man that tries to sexually assault Wonder Woman and she beats him up. Feminism. Like, I'm
Which
just
is not
sick
what it
of
is,
that
but
cliche.
Yeah.
I'm just sick to death of that cliche in every superhero movie with a girl in it, where the first thing that'll happen is someone will try to sexually assault her and then she'll beat him up. Like, watch every superhero movie with a woman in it. It's not Wonder Woman. That scene is in it.
Well, probably not everyone.
Name one.
Hopefully not.
Supergirl, Catwoman, Elektra.
They don't. We flashpoint those movies. They don't exist anymore.
I know, right? Thank God.
Yeah, that's one good thing Barry did with his flashpoint thing.
So that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, like you being able to go in there and not just having like that Patty Jenkins understood representation beyond just the idea that there was this female lead, that she knew that she needed to make a good movie and have good characters. And I think that the whole cast, I mean, there are 2 women in the film that are like outside of the mascara, right? There are really only 2 women that really, and the antagonist, the Dr. Poison, but there aren't a lot of females outside of the mascara, outside of the Amazons, but there's still a lot of things
in the context of World War I.
Exactly, yeah, and that you could connect to in that film. And I think that, so you have to have a rich cast of characters, because it's not that you're going to only connect to one person, that there's a lot of stories that you can talk to. So you were going to say something earlier, Andy, and
yeah, no, I was going to say that I'd see one reaction I'd seen from that was shared by a lot of people was the fact that they didn't like the idea of Diana being surrounded by so many men. But here's the sad fact: back in that time during World War I, it wouldn't really.
It wouldn't make sense for there to be women around her. That's
exactly, because they were like, well, why is she around with 4 men? I'm like, well, because for someone in Steve's nature at that time, the only woman he had in his life was a secretary. So like he would never find a need to recruit a woman who would do these kind of things. So even like again, I wish that wasn't the case, but sadly that was the case. And I mean, heck, the fact that we had a female villain still was that's more than I could have expected, because I really went into the before I knew that Dr. Maru was in this film. I only thought, okay, the only human woman we will see besides whoever is Anna Candy. That's it. But the fact that we got a villain who also she got away, she's still alive. She could be alive in the sequel. That says something. So even though yes, she was surrounded by men, she was not dependent on them. I think Steve was truly her guide into man's world, as it's called. But I think she still she made her own decision. The thing I loved about Steve Trevor was that he never unless I missed something, he never seemed to try to dumb her down and trying to be like, I'm the smartest person in the room and you're the dumbest one. Let me tell you how things are going. He just says, this is how I see it. You can either choose to stand with me, or I will go and take care of this on my own. I'm not you have all the power you have. You can do whatever you want, but this is how I see it, the situation.
I mean, that was so interesting to me throughout it, is that their relationship grounded the fantasy in a really real place that I was excited by. That she talks about she's going to go and kill Ares. And that throughout the film, he doesn't believe for a second that Ares exists, right? Mm-hmm. He just doesn't believe it. Even though he's come to this island that he shouldn't have been on, and there's a lasso that makes him tell the truth. There's all these fantastical elements. There's no way that he believes that Ares is there. But then when he sort of starts talking to the other buddies, as they're walking through on the horseback going through the forest, he sort of brings it up. He's like, so guys, she thinks that she's gonna kill Ares. Like, what do you think? And they all have a different connection to who she is and what she might be thinking, that they have their own opinions of that. But the moment that she's fighting Ares, he goes, oh yeah, of course, it's Ares. And so it's just this great sort of thing that you don't have to, he doesn't have to cater to her or he doesn't think that she's some naive little child. He treats her with a lot of respect. You can still treat people with respect and not believe a certain part that they're talking about, right?
Mhm.
So it's not as if he goes around being like, okay, go have fun on your fight with Ares now, right? Like he treats her with a lot of respect because he knows that she's better than him at certain things that she's like demonstrated throughout the film. And she does help him get away, and she knows what she's talking about, and she's able to have a really good conversation with him, and the things that she's good at, he lets her be good at, and vice versa, right? Like there's certain things where she listens to him. And there's things where she's even yelling at him when she goes into the and a great example of what you're talking about women not fitting into the world of World War I where they are is the scene in the council where she walks in and the entire room goes silence because there's this woman that's just interrupting these proceedings. Because women stood out. They weren't supposed to be in places, and that being acknowledged and recognized, and not at all diminishing her, right? She's still allowed to have her voice said, but then taken out of the chamber and has a different conversation. So she listens to him a little bit, but she fights back when she needs to fight back.
I just like that she's in a world where everything is, and when you see it through her lens, the fact that women can't vote or fight is strange, and through her lens you see that it's stupid.
Yeah.
But she's like, what are your women wearing to battle? It
Yeah.
doesn't even occur to her that like women aren't allowed to fight in World War I. It's just like, well, why wouldn't they be able to? Why wouldn't they be allowed to? And it's like, seeing it through her lens is like, it's even today. I hope some people see it and think, yeah, I've just through a lens like that, I can see that they're absolutely capable of it. And
absolutely capable. Did you see that fight in the beginning with all the women fighting all the other women, and then the guys come with the guns? And
the beach scene was so good.
It was really
I really
good.
liked the beach battle, and it was in broad daylight. Unlike every other bloody DC fight scene.
All right, don't be so hard. I mean, I don't mind fights in the night. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I can take 2 hours of DC movies doing, and then maybe 10 hours of Arrow, so because like it's always like, I mean, Arrow is like, it's funny how we talk about the DC movies being dark. I'm like, I'm sorry, have you seen the fights on Arrow? It's like I don't remember Oliver fighting once in the sun.
I've never watched an episode of Arrow.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. I've watched them all multiple times. We do talk about it a lot on Quiver about how they just need to fight in the daylight just once. But how, and that's a common trope with a lot of shows is that, it's cheaper to just shoot in the studio or get cityscapes at night. That's why also Angel was always at night. Obviously he's a vampire.
Exactly. I was like, you get no choice.
It's cheaper to rent spaces when it's dark out. So there's like, if you're having anything that's like a big scene, you need to do it at night so that you can get the space that you're in.
I also meant like the saturation was turned up a little bit. It was a little more color. Not a lot of color. They didn't go crazy, but like, suddenly her outfit wasn't brown. It was, oh, it's red and blue. Yeah. What a concept of color. Fun.
Well, see, Andy, you kind of like Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman. Right?
I love Man of Steel and I love Batman versus Superman.
The extended cut. I had to plug my ears at the end of that noisy movie.
You don't have the same reverence for like the reason that I love Man of Steel is because I'll watch anything with Superman in it and have like a certain amount.
There are lots of comic book characters that I love very dearly. I love Spider-Man very dearly. I have a slew of Spider-Man comics at home, and I've loved them since I was a kid. That doesn't mean I watch every movie through rose-colored glasses. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a hunk of garbage, and so was Spider-Man 3. I think I can admit that. I don't know why.
But like
Spider-Man 2 wasn't that. It was messy, but it wasn't. It's a watchable movie. I can watch Amazing Spider-Man 2 and like, it's at least that over Catwoman and Batman and Robin and Electro, whatever.
Hey, I love Batman and Robin. That was my original Batman.
I will say this with absolutely no irony. I'd rather watch Batman and Robin than Amazing Spider-Man 2 because Batman and Robin is not boring. It's a mess that's fun to watch when you're drunk and laugh. Uma is immensely watchable in that movie.
I just can't deal with their things.
And it's just going nuts, and then those stupid ice puns. They're great. The back credit card. This is the movie to get high with your friends and have a good time. Whereas Amazing Spider-Man 2 is boring.
I could not handle the way they portrayed Bane in that movie. That's why, like, I could watch it if it wasn't for how because Bane is one of my favorite villains from Batman, and it's like, he went from that to being like, oh, fire rises. I don't know, I can't do that voice.
But I'm not saying it was a good movie. I'm saying it's more watchable.
The thing is with Man of Steel, I kind of, aside from it being a bit dark and that they could do different saturation, it was, I still liked it. It was a Superman story. When you touch the thing, it shakes the camera.
Oh,
so.
sorry.
So that's what that was. No, it's okay.
Also, I've been looking at my hand a lot. I have a bug bite. I just noticed. So sorry if I keep looking at my hand. It's really itchy. It's spider bit me or something. I don't know.
But anyways, the saturation of Wonder Woman, which is when we're talking about DC Universe films, it's noticeable that Wonder Woman is just a lighter film. Not only color-wise, like physically, like you watch the film and it doesn't go along the same sort of tropes that the other DC TV or the DC movies did, where they were like really darker and desaturated, but it's also lighter in tone. And I think that, which is sort of hard when you're in the middle of World War I, but it was funny in a way that the other movies are just not funny. And I think that that's super intentional, and there's some beautiful, really funny moments that I think are mostly because of Steve Trevor.
Yeah, and it's, when you say funny, it doesn't mean it was a comedy. It just means, God forbid, you have a little comic relief. Mm-hmm. There's a reason those are written into even the best of darkest dramas. Yeah. Always have a little comic relief, because without it, it becomes a chore.
Yeah. So what was your favorite, like, comedy beat, like, comedy moment in the film?
Mine or Andy's?
Either one, whoever wants to go.
Easily the boat.
Easily the boat?
Me too. Because I got to see this because when I went to the Edinburgh visit in February in London to meet Patty Jenkins, that was the first scene she showed us, and it was hilarious because I'm like, it's when they're on the boat and they cut back to Ludendorff or whatever, and then they cut back to her actually arriving in London. So like that scene was like, I was like, okay, there's probably gonna be more funny scenes in the film, but this is one of my all-time favorites. And so yeah, but that still remains my favorite comedic scene in the whole film. Because I like Amanda said, I love Chris Pine. I've seen him in the Star Trek movies, but this was by far my favorite role that he has done. And I've never really cared much about Steve Trevor as a character, like from the various comics that I read or anime shows or whatnot, but like this, I'm like,
it's interesting.
I want to see more of him. I want to see more of him.
Credit, this was the best Steve Trevor. I'm not a Wonder Woman expert, but I've read some, and Steve Trevor's never been interesting. And I did watch the Linda Carter show, which is fun, and he was pretty.
I sadly saw the NBC pilot of Wonder Woman, and that Steve Trevor had no charisma with Adrian Palicki, and I'm like, Adrian Palicki is amazing. I mean, the thing that made me so sad about that attempt at Wonder Woman was that the cast is great because the guy who does all the CWDC show, he was the one who casted for Wonder Woman, that TV show, but yet the writing was horrible. And that Steve Trevor, he had no charisma with leading Wonder Woman. So I'm glad that is out of my head now, and I can actually always remember Chris Pine's Steve Trevor.
You did an awesome job. Somebody actually mentioned as well, coming out of the movie, I went with a couple of different friends, and one of them pointed out the idea that the Born Sexy Yesterday was
they
broken.
Didn't do it.
They didn't do it.
It was so easy for them to do it, and the thing is, any other director would have done it.
Well, I mean, possibly, but it's more easily
likely.
They could have easily fallen into that. But one of the greatest things about the Amazons is that they are this sort of like female behemoth of and of course it makes sense that she would be aware of sexual experiences.
Sorry,
and it's okay. Yeah, I noticed. But that and so that moment in the boat, not only is it funny, but it also lends to a really important thing and a choice that they made in that movie to make her aware of the world and aware of her own sexuality, which they could have really easily not done. And it not only leads to really funny moments, but it makes her a better character. It makes the whole experience good.
And did you know what we mean when we say the Born Sexy Yesterday trope?
I'm not as familiar with that. But if you describe it, you may recognize it.
Fifth Element, for example, or Tron Legacy, in which there is a sexy woman with the mind of a child who doesn't know anything about sex, and it's up to the man to teach her. And it's creepy when he's I think it's creepy when he's so you've been with a man. this is the kiss. What is a kiss?
Yeah.
Let me show you. It's like super creepy.
So
and
they
that
did-
was
Yeah.
open to be done again,
Yeah.
and they didn't do it. And a lot of it was relief watching this movie. I was relieved. I was worried about so many cliches that they didn't do.
There's a great YouTube video actually about explaining the Born Sexy Yesterday trope, which is like really prevalent in sci-fi and fantasy stuff. So they could.
I think the guy who made that video coined the term as well.
Cool. Yeah, which is cool. So, but yeah, so that was, I think the boat scene does lend itself really well to that. I have to say that my favorite bits, I mean, I did like the boat scene. Obviously that was really funny. But I appreciated it more just because I felt like it was really true to her, to that character. Like it gave you a little bit of insight into her as like a grown up. But I actually liked the two last two scenes with Steve Trevor. Like the first one where he's like,
we're not gonna make it.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna die. This is a terrible idea.
Like it was because like it didn't have to be used as a comedy moment.
No,
but it's just those
I am
extra
taking you to the front lines. This is a terrible idea. We're gonna die.
Yeah. Like it just was like
Yeah,
a brilliant use of that, of like the lasso. Not only was it really cool as sort of a fighting tool, which I realized as when it all came down to it in the end, she really was just using her like gauntlets and her lasso. Like her shield was gone and her sword was broken at the end. But she can fight with that lasso, man. It was awesome. So that was probably my favorite comedy beat was the lasso stuff, because I think again I just really liked Chris Pine in this movie, which I don't know if it's like do you feel like you can say that as men? I guess that's like a weird thing that you can like, because I feel like I have the privilege, and I don't know, there's probably a lot of like feminists that get mad at me that saying like the thing that I like the most about one of the best, most blockbuster female superhero movies is like the leading guy character.
I think that's what happens when the romantic lead is given an arc, which happens when you'll notice the best romantic arcs that are there are the ones that are not shoehorned in for no reason, where both characters have an arc.
Yeah.
And this was the case in that one. I think most romantic leads for women don't have an arc and are very replaceable. Yeah. And that's why we don't often feel that way about them, but we do when it's there.
And I think that part of what I'm bringing to this movie is my connection with Lois Lane, because I think that it makes Superman more interesting. And the reason that, like, I mean, a lot of people don't like the character of Superman. They think that he's really boring, which is one of your things. Yeah. But I think he's really interesting because of his connection with this woman that's so important in his life and that makes him just a better person. And I think that Wonder Woman is her own person, but a lot of what she experiences through the film does come through his introduction of her to the world. And then when he makes his sacrifice at the end, if he was a woman, you would say that she was refrigerated, or he was refrigerated in many ways, which we talk about on Quiver all the time.
The refrigerator term does not mean love interest dies. It means they were murdered in order so that the other character could go on a revenge quest.
Yes.
Yeah.
So but the idea of like putting somebody in like an emotional predicament because of the person that they love. We often extrapolate that term a little bit when we're talking about it on Quiver. But like the idea that like he died for a really good reason, not the first of which is the fact that they're not actually doing a sequel in a time period that he could be around for. So I think that a good choice is to kill him off in a dramatic way. I think that that's a really good storytelling idea. If you know that you have a character that is really important and can be used really well. I think that was a really good choice that they did, but also it shows that like she had a connection to him, and like that was the catalyst for her emotional sort of like explosion at the end, right, where she just needed to. So actually, Andy, I have some lore stuff to talk to you about, because there was an article I read about like 8 powers that Wonder Woman had. The 8th was create a good DC movie, which was great.
At least since 2008.
Yeah.
Or whenever The Dark Knight came out.
Yeah. But one of them was the idea that she actually does genuinely have like the mind over matter power, that she can actually manifest more power by thinking about having more power. And
is
that's
that a power, or is that the writers writing themselves out of a corner?
But
because that happens a lot in superhero movies, where it's like, oh, I'm in a corner. Suddenly they have the power to get out of it.
So this is why I'm asking Andy, because what they referenced in it was actually like stuff from like the early comics, where like that's not just the thing that they did in this Wonder Woman movie, but that it's like it's shown to have happened in the past. I don't know. Is that something that you're aware of as being like part of Wonder Woman?
I'm not actually that I've never heard of, but it sounds like something very Bronze Age, Silver Age. So I'm sure that comes from somewhere. But I didn't think about it that way.
I think every superhero has that power.
Yeah,
I've read Spider-Man comics where suddenly he's like 30 million times stronger than he should be because the writers wrote themselves into a corner. And I hate those comics. And Superman sometimes is like strong enough to lift. Ooh, it's a struggle to lift this building. And then sometimes he's like, oh, I'm lifting a planet. That's because the writers needed it to happen.
It is sometimes. Well, now you're talking about it too much. Oh man, when my camera went off, I shut all of the links that I had open. And one of them was that, oh man, I was all prepared, and then my camera didn't work, so I can't bring it up. But I might post it in the link for the article, the 8 things that Wonder Woman did. One thing that actually was kind of cool, which they didn't do in this movie, but again, it was just me learning some different things about Wonder Woman, was actually that she gets stronger when she doesn't have her like. Are these called gauntlets? What are these called?
Bracers.
Yeah, when she doesn't have them on.
Yeah, they hold her power back. When she takes them off, she becomes God, like a part God, and her eyes glow blue.
Yeah.
I mean, the Wonder Woman comics that I have read are like I've read like the first like 6 arcs of the New 52 Wonder Woman, and she does that to keep her from killing everything around her.
And that lightning, so she channels lightning, and she does like it doesn't hurt her, which is cool. Which you did see in the movie that she could use. She could use the lightning. To go back. But anyways, there was just a lot of, I feel like I went tangentially. We were talking about something completely different, and I just started talking.
We were talking about the idea of someone like Steve Trevor taking, the big sacrifice. And,
so like, and then it's the catalyst for her. Yeah. Where she sees the like his team still like there and fighting, and they're getting ready for all the stuff, right? And it's just this idea that, oh, okay, the idea that sort of love is the thing that saves the day, I love. And there's a great, I don't know if we did it somewhere. God, I mean, me and Mike have been podcasting for like 5 years. It probably exists somewhere, but it's a big thing that I've talked about on the podcast before about the difference between the Hunger Games movie and the Twilight movies. And the reason why Twilight gets such a bad rap, many, many, many different things. But one of the differences is that the superpower in Twilight is like love. And the female protagonist saves the day through love, whereas in the Hunger Games, she saves the day through force, through fighting. And so it's like this difference in like what people like respect in like female characters. And I think that it's a very nuanced conversation. And obviously, I did not do it justice there, but there's something to be said.
I think Katniss loves quite a bit and is very. I think ultimately the Hunger Games is just a better product.
Yes.
I think it's just more well.
I'm not arguing against that at all. What I'm arguing against is the idea of like that when you talk about feminine characteristics or things that are often characterized as feminine, love often falls into that, like emotionality and things like that are often characterized as a more feminine trait in modern media. Like that's sort of just a thing that often happens. And so one of the things that this movie I think does so well for me is that it actually brings that to the forefront and uses it as a strength of that character in a way that is really great. And it's not just about her love, but about her recognizing that in other people as being like an important force for good or for change or being able to conquer bad things. And so I just think that is like a really beautiful moment at the end when she does sort of recognize that.
Especially after, if I may just interrupt quickly, I think that moment was so big because just a few seconds or minutes before that, we saw that she had almost, when she had first killed Ludendorff and she thought that was Aaron and she thought, well, the spell must be over now. She sees that, no, men did this themselves. She was starting to give up on humanity already. But I think, so that was why, like, so quickly afterwards, like, she realized, the power of love is one of humanity's greatest strengths. That's why I love the fact she didn't give up on humanity completely, and that's the thing. Like I think she came to the realization that humanity is flawed, which I think is good for a character to know. Whether you're a Kryptonian, or if you're an Amazon, or if you're whatever Batman is, because nothing about him is human, I think. Yeah, so I feel like that was a good follow up to she has this breaking moment where she like everything I believed in up until now. I came with this man for this trip to stop Ares, to save humanity, and it didn't help. And then she does fight the real Ares, and and she sees that the power of love is it will conquer. So I that's why I love the fact she had that breaking moment of realizing, what? Oh crap, I didn't. I should have looked at it from different perspectives. That it's not just maybe it wasn't Ares all the time, and he even explains it to her that like look, he pretty much quoted Leonardo DiCaprio I placed a seed in their head and then they came up with the idea themselves. So like all they had to do just was playing the Inception music. I'm like, oh crap, this kind of works.
So her world was black and white, and I loved it. It was shattered, and like she really struggled with it. And Steve Trevor's sacrifices, but kind of shouted that into like the gray area is okay, and I will is mankind worth fighting? That maybe they don't deserve me, but I think they do, and I will fight anyway.
So this leads me to my first criticism of the movie, that is sort of like a larger DC universe question. It all starts with this idea that in Batman versus Superman, or this idea that she's like, I don't fight anymore, like humanity's let me down and all this stuff. I don't think that at the end of this movie, she's in that emotional place. I think,
and it's also 100 years.
So it's 100 years ago. So I'm wondering, and this is like a question for you: do you think the thing that broke her is actually after this? Like, is it in the 100 years from when Steve Trevor makes the sacrifice for her and shows her that humanity is actually worth fighting for? Does she go back into it? Does she start fighting for humanity, and then something else breaks her between this and Batman versus Superman? Or is there a weird, because I just didn't quite get that connection in why she was so apprehensive to fight for humanity in Batman v Superman. But at the end of this movie, I feel like she's in a really good place when it comes to being a hero and is ready to protect people.
I talk about the scene with her in the present after we've seen the Flash, the whole Flash.
And specifically in Batman v Superman, she's like, I don't fight anymore. I'm not helping you, Batman and Superman, and she's gonna leave. And because she's so I'm jaded and I don't think humanity's worth fighting. That's her character at the beginning of Batman v Superman, right? She's kind of just looking out for herself and not really wanting to get involved. And then she does get involved because she realizes that she's really needed in Batman v Superman. But I feel like the way that she started that movie is incongruous with how she ends. And I guess because in the future she's the thing is she's now gotten better and she comes back and is humanity is worth fighting for, but this is after the events of Batman v Superman. Anything that's in the present day in Wonder Woman is after the events of Batman v Superman, right? So there's something between after Steve Trevor's death in the past and Batman v Superman.
100 years there.
Exactly. So that's what I'm wondering. So do we feel like it is, or is it just a disconnect?
I wonder if that's a story that because I don't know what because I keep seeing so many different things now on the internet that apparently Patty Jenkins is considering doing a contemporary setting, or she's going to do in modern setting, or she's going to do World War II or whatever. So it's I feel like whatever they decide to do, this plot point is not completed yet. I think that will be the red thread throughout the whole Wonder Woman trilogy. I feel that will be the common thread that each movie will touch upon, how she became inspired to become a hero, how she became uninspired and to not be a hero anymore, and how she actually eventually finds her way back. So I didn't think about it that much when I was watching Wonder Woman, because
okay. That was what I was I was waiting for, because the thing is, there is a point in the movie where she's kind of this is not what I signed on for. And
Batman v Superman?
No. In this Wonder Woman, where she's kind of oh my gosh, everything is the moment that she does get broken, where she's well, I can't, humanity sucks, and this is just them, and it's not Ares, and what, you are all terrible. Why should I help any of you? She does get to that moment, which is more of what I think she is later on. When you first meet her in Batman v Superman, I think she's a little bit more aloof. But I mean,
we've all felt like that some days, where you're just sucks.
Yeah. So I guess, maybe I am just overthinking it a little bit.
No, I don't think you're overthinking.
But I think, it's really nice. It was really, I'm glad that she did kill somebody in the movie, and that's not a thing.
One of my favorite things about Wonder Woman in her text of the comics is between her and Superman and Batman. She's the one without a no-kill rule. And Green Lantern.
Yeah.
She has. Oh no, not depends on the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Actually, but like, she does not have the no-kill rule. So there's times where they're like, what do we do with him? We can't kill him. And Wonder Woman will cut his head off.
Yeah.
You're like, there, I solved the problem. Yeah. I will kill him.
So I think that's like there was a really interesting juxtaposition about that, and then of course when she's holding the big tank over her head and she's gonna kill Dr. Poison, and then you get you get to hear what Steve said to her, because I was worried that they weren't gonna actually tell you what he said in the brilliant
they were
moment.
Gonna lost in translation you.
Yeah, I don't know where you like don't know what he said, but like that was a good moment, right, where she's gonna kill Dr. Poison, and then she's like, you know what? No, love. And it's like, well, yeah, maybe Dr. Poison didn't deserve to die there. So like this idea that Ares wanted her to, and it was this idea that like she could fight back against like the god of war.
I just wish Ares didn't tell her to, because that's when I was like, oh, well, obviously she's not going to.
But that's the whole point of Ares. Like that's what he does.
But it's not going to work on her, obviously. I feel like it would have been, if it was just like up to her, holding the tank over, I might have been like, is she going to kill Dr. Poison? Yeah. Either way, it wouldn't change the movie. Maybe it would change her, but I'd be like, she could kill Dr. Poison right now. But when Ares was like, do it, kill her, fulfill your destiny, and join the dark side.
Yeah, he's not.
That was a pretty Palpatine moment. Come on. Don't pretend that wasn't a Palpatine moment.
Sure.
Crush.
Well, if it was a Palpatine moment, then it must have been very forgettable, because
you don't remember it as Palpatine.
Michael's gonna kill me if he sees us. I don't even know what movie that was for Star Wars.
Oh well, it's just more the essence of the character of Palpatine being there. Like, yeah, he does. He tells like
it was like a mirrored scene in Return of the Jedi when he's like, do it, strike me down with your anger, fulfill your destiny. And then in this movie, strike her down with your anger. It is your destiny as a god.
Yeah.
And he shoots lightning out of his hand. He's Palpatine.
Can we just talk though a little bit about how he's also Remus Lupin?
Like, yes. So I keep kicking the camera. I can't help it.
Okay. But like that was for me, and
it seemed weird having this British like Nigel Thornberry was also under all this armor. It was a little weird.
People have said that. People have said like their biggest like thing.
They're smashing, darling. I'm the god of war. I am. But I thought it was gonna transform.
I think it was okay, and I understand how people could have issues with that. But then
it wasn't the worst. It was just a little weird to see Nigel Thornberry in Dragonborn armor.
What are your thoughts on Remus Lupin there as a character?
I loved him. I think it was nice to have him play Ares as opposed to, because everyone thought, of course it's going to be Ludendorff, of course it's going to be, because Danny Huston is known for playing, bad guys, like if you've seen the X-Men movies or whatever. So I like the fact that they kind of they made it, that actor, David Thewlis, and I thought that was, I think it did a great job. I know a lot of people who had seen the film in advance were like, well, the CGI wasn't that great in the third act, and he was kind of, whatever. But I'm like, no, he was deliciously evil. It was kind of like, we've just spent a season with Prometheus on air. It was kind of like, because I just come off that night, I'm like, oh my god, he's just like he's he can just talk evil for hours, and I will be terrified. So I was satisfied with David Thewlis as Ares.
There's a thing where you sort of know that it's not going to be Ludendorff as Ares. You sort of know that. But the moment where I kind of was like, wait, is he Ares? Was when she does talk to him in the ballroom, in the ball space, where he and for a moment I was like,
a good red hair.
I was like, oh, maybe he is Ares, and that's the twist, is that she's right, but then she's not, and you're like, okay, well. She's not. And you sort of expected that to come. And then I was like, oh, of course it's, again, I don't know, Remus Lupin. What is his name?
Remus Lupin.
What's his name?
His name is Remus.
What is it, Andy?
The actor's name of Ares?
Sure. Or I guess you can just call him Ares.
Yeah.
But it's you're kind of like, oh yeah, no, of course it's him. And then I was like, well, I feel kind of silly for not having noticed that earlier or connecting that, but it is really great because he's not stereotypically one of my favorite parts of Xena. Like, I don't remember a lot of Xena, and I watched it when I was really young and haven't watched it again since. But Ares on Xena is like yummy. And I really do like Ares. And ever since Xena, Ares has been my favorite Greek god. I mean, probably not. I love the whole pantheon, and I could get into Greek mythology so much, but I won't for this. But for like all intents and purposes, I really do love Ares, and I love that like mythos of him. So the fact that he wasn't like a stereotypical Ares, but he fit really well with like when they were describing the lore in Wonder Woman and like those little things at the beginning where the mom was telling the story about like Ares falling, and like he did suit that type of Ares with that particular like war mask or whatever. Yeah. That I'm like, sure. This guy is Ares, and he fell to Earth, and now he's a little broken. Because when they did some great CGI of him like falling from Earth and without a shirt on and sort of looking up.
So you're hoping for more of that Ares on Wonder Woman?
I know. I'm just saying that I think that a lot of people's perceptions of that Ares and why they're having a problem with it is because Ares is often presented as this great warrior. Like that's
I don't think I had a problem with it. I quite liked him being Ares. It was just quite a contrast to see this spindly British man with his tea underneath this, you know, Dovak armor.
Another representation like moment that there was like you know, there's representations of different kinds of people and all sorts of stuff, and even like a older white guy can be a particular kind of representation.
That's probably that's the thing. Yeah, I think ultimately it was the right decision.
Yeah.
I was just really not expecting it. Yeah, other than the end fight was still a little CG heavy.
I liked it.
Because
I didn't mind that.
The fight was great. The beach scene was so good.
Yeah.
But then it got really loud.
Okay, so this is that's also like again when we went to the movie, the guys were like, the last one was like the two gods fighting each other, and I'm like, it's gods fighting each other. I don't know what you expected. It's this big spectacle of like gods like bringing the earth up with lightning and throwing things across. Like, I don't understand what people expected from a fight between two gods.
All the colors swirling around them.
I love that. I was like, it was refreshing. Sorry?
What are you saying? Sorry?
I was saying that it was refreshing to have a fight that did not involve a freaking like portal to like a wormhole or anything like that in the sky. I'm like,
portal in the sky was not there. That's great. That's just great. Pretty thick of portals in the sky.
Yeah, like I'm like I could do 10 years without that kind of storytelling, because I'm like, okay, Avengers did it at least I think twice. Flash did it once. Suicide Squad did it, and like I feel like Man of Steel did it. I'm like, okay, guys, stop it.
In the sky.
That's why I love Ares and Wonder Woman, the fight and so on. Like, I didn't think the CGI was fine. It was good for what it was, and like I was just like, you know what, this is a fight between two gods. You know, so I dig that idea. So I don't know if people who had issues with it, like, unless they're just like, you know, oh, but like Marvel is allowed to do, but not DC.
I don't know. I don't know what else to expect from a fight between two gods. It was sort of what I wanted it to be. I think
I'm not anti-CG. CG is great and does wonderful things, especially in comic book movies. I'm just saying, swirling colors and debris all the time and cluttering the screen. It's just...
Well, that's kind of what's going to happen if two gods were fighting.
Sorry?
That's what would happen if two gods were fighting. Like, I mean,
it's not real, so we can make up what happens when they fight, and they don't need swirling things.
The coolest thing for me was seeing it from far away, like in Steve's perspective, like when he was looking at it, and you saw them like fighting in the distance, and you see the Earth sort of like upended around them. I think that was really cool. So like from far away, it was like a really interesting, like, oh. Something else I really like. Let's just talk more about the movie. So we'll start. I mean, we've been talking now for like a full hour, so we'll start to like sort of.
I do want to get into one of my big pet peeves we haven't brought up yet.
We can. I'll talk about a thing that I really did like about it, and that was about giving the characters real character moments, like when Steve is about to die, and they give him a moment to like process that he's going to shoot this big pile of like poison and kill himself. Yeah. And like, so there's this beautiful, like, it's not just a thing that happens off screen or like you see, like he gets the moment of like that beautiful acting. Again, Chris Pine in this movie, great. But like he has that beautiful moment of being able to like fully understand the weight of like his choice that he's gonna make, and that they give all those little characters, they give them all moments where you actually really see them processing the events that they're taking part in. So something else I liked. Let's go to pet peeves. Yeah, let's talk about some pet peeves in the movie. Oh yeah, I know.
It's just like, well, I feel like we've gushed and like nitpicked, but this is one cliche that just bothers me to no end, and it's so common. It's when the German characters are speaking English to each other in German accents. It's so. I only like it in old Bond movies.
So. I know that this is one of your biggest things, and as I was watching the movie, I didn't go with Andrew. I went with other people.
We went at the same time.
We went at the same time.
I just didn't want to see it
in 3D.
Didn't want to see it in
3D, yes. I don't like 3D. But as we were watching it, I was like, oh, they're doing subtitles for like a lot of the different languages. But then in the German, they're not subtitling it, and I'm like, oh man, this is going to bother Andrew. Like, I did actually think that.
I eventually got it that when they were speaking... When Chris Pine started using a German accent, I was like, okay, so in this context, they're speaking German. Which, like, I understand in Gladiator, they're just, everyone is speaking English. And just because, and I get that. They're not really speaking English, but they're speaking English because it's for an English audience. But it was inconsistent. Well, but it also might have been that Chris Pine didn't want to learn German.
So here's the thing. Like, it could be as well, like, there's different ways you can forgive stuff. And I'll start in the first part is they did a lot of really, really cool progressive things with this movie. And I know that people like my sister are a general audience who hates subtitles. And I want this movie to be something that she enjoys. And I know that if she went to it and there was half of it in subtitles, she would be quite annoyed, probably. Sorry to speak out of turn if that's not something. But I know that she just hates watching subtitle movies. I definitely try to get her to watch Korean dramas with me, and she will not have any of it. So I understand from like a blockbuster perspective that they had to compromise on some things. And if that's even just what it is, I think that they were given enough things that were really consistent and really awesome with this movie that I forgive them for not doing the German. The other thing could be that most of the time they weren't actually in Germany. And for example, like when they were in that place where you first meet Dr. Poison, they're in the Ottoman Empire. And so it's like, it's an idea that maybe the people that are working are actually don't speak German. Like, it's quite possible that they are actually
there was like that boardroom with the Kaiser and all of them, and they were speaking German to each other. English to each other in the German accent. And after we get this motherfucker, we will get the Muslim squirrel. Launch the doomsday device, the acting device. So it just brings me into this, because it brings me into a cartoon world. Like, suddenly I'm watching.
But that's because you're hypercritical. There's like people that it would take them out of the world of the film.
Critical thing.
Dude, I've known it for like an hour, but it is a little bit.
Sorry, what did you say, Andy?
It is a little bit. It's a little bit hypercritical, dude.
But like, surely you've seen Inglourious Bastards. Half that movie is subtitles, and it's one of the best things about the movies. It feels way more real.
I don't know if my sister's seen Inglourious Bastards, nor if she would ever watch it. And
have you seen Inglourious Bastards?
I have. I do like Inglourious Bastards.
So good. I love it.
I do like it. Yeah. There's like the idea that like this is a big blockbuster. I feel like I forgive them a little bit for doing German accents when they should have been speaking German. But I do understand it as a big pet peeve that hopefully eventually, in the same way that we are all right seeing a superhero movie that just happens to star a woman, we will also one day be fine watching films of all sorts of languages subtitled, and it will just be a norm that we're like, hey, look.
I'm not. It didn't ruin the movie for me. It was just a little like.
I know.
It was a little, you know.
But it was definitely a thing, like, as I was watching it, I was like, I did.
Because again, the first thing, we spent the first 40 minutes of this podcast gushing about Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Do you have any critiques of the movie, Andy? What are your biggest things?
I mean, okay, this is going to sound silly, because I mean, my only pet peeve with the film was that there wasn't enough Etta Candy, because she was so funny, and she's like one of Woman's like best friend in the comics. So I'm like,
is she the secretary?
Yeah. In the comics, she likes candy, because that was her whole character, because that's what passed for a joke in the 40s.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
She was so fun. She was fun in the film, and I liked her dynamic with Diana. So like, I like, because like she didn't. That's the thing. I wish that they would have done more of, like letting Diana be with like human women, like see. So like. Because, you know, it was fun. Like, it was fun when they were trying on the clothes, and, like, they were trying to, like, she's like, how do women find this? And Etta is like...
The moment when she walked out in, like, the 1917 outfit, holding a sword and shield, like, it didn't matter.
Yeah, like,
I got my sword and shield and my little outfit. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Like, that was one of my favorite little moments. loudly cackled.
But that was really my only issue with the film. Like,
I just remembered one of my favorite comedy moments. I forgot. But my favorite one is when he's like looking for the last bit of the thing and he picks up the glasses to give her, and then at a candy the secretary's like, yes, that will help Specs, as if she's not the most beautiful woman you've ever seen. Like, it was just this beautiful, like, it was like, cause it's like, that's the thing, right? Where you're like, girl with glasses. So it was just a trope that, like, again, they hit on all of these common themes that as a woman, I mean, for whatever it is, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie John Tucker Must Die, but there's definitely this thing
I saw
where,
yes,
I have not.
where they have this girl that's kind of like, it's Brittany Snow, who's beautiful, and it's all like, I'm a nerd, people don't like me, and I'm like, you are beautiful. And then it's like this thing where they like change her hair.
It's the Lizzie McGuire
like,
thing too, where she's like, it's Hillary fucking Duff.
You just swore.
Ah.
Sorry.
You did everything. Can you bleep it?
I don't know. I don't know. It's a YouTube video. Anyway, sorry.
All right. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm supposed to swear, but it's Hillary bloody Duff,
Yeah.
and she's supposed to be this huge nerd that no one likes. I'm
Yes.
like,
But it's Hillary Duff.
Hillary Duff,
Yes.
and everyone around her is gorgeous.
So anyways, the Specs moment was really funny for me. So I think that was...
I like that some of the nods to Superman the movie. Actually, it was funny because I was writing an article about it today, and there's actually two very cool tributes to Superman the movie in the film. The one is in the department store where she's trying to, leave through the revolving door. That reminded me of when Clark was like trying to follow Lois like for the Daily Planet, and he got stuck with the revolving door. The second one is obviously her catching the bullet, the way Clark saved Lois. So like that was cool. I kind of like that.
It's cool when they do nods like that. So there was just so many little things in the movie that were, I think that anybody could find something that was good for like any part of it. I love again, you've talked about No Man's Land before, and I think that really is one of the greatest like beats of the movie, is that you have her just like wanting to help. Like she's like, I'm here, this is what I'm doing, I'm here to help the world, and this is what I can do in this particular moment. I can get across and I can save this village. And then you have that beautiful beat where then the village is destroyed. And there's just so many. So one thing, again, you had mentioned the things that you wanted to see from the movie before you went into it, and one of the things you did mention is that you wanted her to have a flaw. Like, you didn't want her to be this perfect character.
I was really worried that she would be flawless, do everything, that she'd essentially be a Mary Sue, and that she is perfect, flawless, does everything wonderfully without trying, never makes a mistake, except for she's a little clumsy, and then just saves the day without trying.
But I would argue that in many ways, I think that this Wonder Woman did maintain a very specific consistency in terms of, like, she was very, like, genuine and very kind.
Oh, very.
And so, like, there wasn't really any her flaw was sort of like this naivete about, like, what the world is, like, what she expects of the world in some ways, but that it actually worked. Like, even though, so I feel like, I guess my question to you is, do you feel like she still did have some flaws? Even though in my opinion, I think she did sort of, not really, she was very, I think the things that she did were very genuine and very, like,
she didn't listen to anyone, and in the end, and viewed the world in black and white.
Right.
And that got really muddled.
Right, yeah.
Which was a great arc.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think they did a good job in portraying her as flawed, but the thing I loved so much about it was that even though she was flawed, she was naive. They never made her look stupid, because there were times when I was like, you know what, I would think the same way. I would try and act the same way too, and it's not stupid. It's understandable because of where she comes from and her being so new and fresh to this world. So, but he made such a good job of never making her seem like, well, she's a dumb chick or whatever. Like she always came out like, there's you can agree with both sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just so nice to see someone that like reacted reasonably. Oh, and the ice cream scene was great, and the baby scene.
That's from the comics.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Is it?
Ice cream. Beautiful.
One of her is Justice League.
Proud to the guy. Yeah, they took that right out of one of her most.
Yeah. My actually, and something that maybe, I mean, just diverging a little bit from Wonder Woman, and we can maybe talk a little bit about like her as like an iconic person or iconic idea. My real introduction to Wonder Woman was actually through sort of a critical academic lens. I read a book called Ink-Stained Amazons and Cinematic Warriors that was actually deconstructing like the creation of characters such as Wonder Woman or Xena and like these characters that are on screen as sort of these feminist icons, and learned a lot about the creator of Wonder Woman through that book and about his own views. And I mean, he was a polyamorous man who had like these two women.
He invented the polygraph.
Right, and just like this really, I didn't know he was a polygraph.
Last year of truth isn't a different meaning when you think the guy who
the Wonder Woman creator. Speaking of the Wonder Woman creator, the first trailer actually dropped today for the documentary on Wonder Woman's creation by that male creator.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, he's really interesting and worth sort of looking into. And this was another part of the like 8 things of Wonder Woman's superpowers. I really should find these articles and actually quote them properly. But one of the things is the idea of bondage and her being a character that actually, like the lasso being like an actual thing that she would use as a tool. And also that this idea of her talking very openly about her sexuality as like really sort of in line with like the ethos of like how she was created and to be this sort of like different kind of female icon. And I think that there was some really interesting moments in the movie that got to explore that, and you did see like or that even just as a character for how she's progressed over the years, that sometimes people maybe don't know that history. So it's sort of worth looking into if people aren't aware of like her creation. I think that part of what makes her so great now is that she was sort of created from this progressive place. And then she was created by a man, which is like, yeah, it's good. I mean, there was a lot of male creators that created a lot of really great
His wife had a lot to do with it too, though.
Yeah, and I think they carried on too after he died. Like they still lived together, like the two women, and like carried on a lot of the like property rights and distributions or disputes with the character, which is cool. But I think that one of the things that is really interesting to see her come at is, I mean, even today in society, polyamory is really looked as sort of like a niche part of society. And so when you think about people that are already in sort of like a segment of society that's not really mainstream, sometimes come up with more progressive ideas, or they have more progressive ideals in their own life that are reflected in their characters. So I think that this character, even though she's created over a decade ago, over a century ago, that she
Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
75 years exactly.
Oh, wow.
It's the 75th anniversary
Oh, I don't think I knew that either. I know nothing.
1942.
Why am I even hosting? Anyway,
you're doing a great job, man. Don't be hard on yourself.
But anyways, so there's so many great things about her, and I think that one of the things is that I think now she speaks to a very specific. She doesn't have to be so progressive. She can just sort of be who she is, and I think that took a long time to get there. And I think that one of the things I like the most about her is that she isn't super remarkable. She's kind of just this. I don't know. And again, I speak of this from like a straight cis heterosexual female that I see myself represented in many things. So I do realize that I am very lucky to also see myself represented in something that I care a lot about, that there's this character that acts the same way that I would act in a lot of certain situations. And I feel very lucky that I do have that representation on screen. And I am really looking forward to the day when everybody can sort of connect to a film in the same way that I was able to connect to this one. I mean, there's lots of films that I connect to in a lot of different ways, but I think that this is like, there was lots of things to be excited about for this movie. So.
Even her being naive, she was also more progressive than her. She was a bit ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not in everything, not in the world being black and white thing, but in just the way women are treated in society. She was just like way ahead of everyone that she was around her, and she picked up on everything.
Because she came from the Amazons, who were awesome and had a very specific way of looking at the
Amazon, by the way, I feel we should talk about Femascara, like, because that was one of my favorite parts. It was just like what Matt said, like Krypton was my favorite part, one of my favorite part of the film, and then yeah,
I did like the Krypton parts of Man of Steel.
Well, then you should probably be excited for the Krypton TV show that's coming next year.
I'm really excited, actually.
There's a Krypton TV show?
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. It's like
I'm gonna tell my agent to get me in the room.
Excellent. I'm so excited. But yeah, no, talk about the Amazons. You probably have a lot of really good opinions about that, Andy.
I don't know if I have good opinions, but I will do my best. No, but I loved seeing so much of it. Like, I loved seeing that we didn't just see like 10 Amazons. We saw like maybe hundreds or thousands of them. Like, I love that we saw so many women of color. Like, even it would have been great if a Amazon of color had been represented with Diana. Would have been great, but it was still cool to see, like, for example, Artemis, who is, I think she's either she's white or she's like biracial in the comic. Like, she was cast as an African American in this film, so that Artemis has a big role in the Wonder Woman mythology. So hopefully we will see more of her in future films. And Robin Wright. I mean,
Robin Wright is
yeah.
wonderful, and that, I mean, was a really cool part of the movie. Like, that you get that sort of emotional connection right off the bat.
You could just tell everyone making the movie really gave a crap.
Yeah, that they really liked it. And that
I don't know if I actually am okay with her death. Because I feel like, I mean, I get why, because it kind of sets Diana on this path, and it's kind of like because she isn't a man. Robin Wright wasn't. Because Diana isn't a man, Robin Wright's character wasn't really seen as being fridged, because to progress the man's man pain, basically. So, but it was kind of like
murdered intentionally in order to get at Diana, not died in battle.
You've already explained it.
I know.
We extrapolate the term refrigerator
a lot. It
we
sounds
do.
like, and it's a very specific thing.
It is, but it's like
it's not uncommon. Just like any character that dies is not immediately in the fridge.
No, but it's like, but given, if we look at this, for example, like the sci-fi fantasy genre, a lot of women are fridged, sadly, in the favor of progressing the male character storyline. Like, I mean, not to rip on Arrow, but like, I think Emma and I can both agree that, I mean, I think Amanda said it in early season 5. The subtitle for Arrow could actually be "Arrow Promises All Were Made to Dead Girls," because so many women had died because of him, and it's so it's sad. So it's like, but I'm just saying that, because we do see women die more in these kind of genre things, which is kind of sad, and it's mostly to give the man a reason to have pain to grieve over.
I know what the fridge is.
Yeah, I'm just babbling. But yes, I was that was one of my pet peeves. I was I want to see her in more film. And also, I was so confused, because I'm like, wait a minute, the Amazons were created by gods. How can they die by a bullet?
Because the gods didn't have bullets when they created them. I don't know.
Because the Amazons aren't part god.
Yeah, they're not immortal.
They're still immortal, which is it's Wonder Woman, and this was also not invincible, which was great.
Yeah.
Like she
heals really quickly.
She heals quickly, but she was able to be hurt, which is so important in giving things weight and stakes. When your characters are invincible,
Superman has a lot of weight and stakes. So.
Characters are invincible.
Agree to disagree. But I understand.
That's why I didn't like Sucker Punch. Because every time she was in peril, they would hit her, and she would fly 30 stories and then smash into a wall and then get up on skates. I was like, oh, so she's invincible. So who cares what happens in this scene?
I get the human core. That's why I care. Anyways, yeah, no, it's good. There's a lot of cool things. I think the characters, what I really liked about like the Amazons and that community that they had, is that it really did leave a weight and a hole in their society, which I think was really relevant, and sort of more so in Diana than leaving the Amazons, because her mother already did experience this great loss. But then her being able to be given the tiara. They didn't call it a tiara in the movie, but like her tiara being from, that was me this time. Sorry. Is Iantopy? I don't know their names.
I don't remember.
But anyways, but that it has like emotional weight, and it's this idea that I think that Steve Trevor dying was one of the best things that could have happened in the film, because it does give a real sense of closure of that particular story. Mm-hmm. And I think in a lot of other ways, like there was a real sense of closure in like her part on the island, that she had gone through this training. Oh, which brings me to my biggest open gap in terms of timeline for the movie. That again, there's so many good things about this movie that it's hard to find flaws. But my thing is, did she grow up and then the first time she ever experienced her powers, when she used her got her bracelets to blow everybody up?
I think that was the first time she did something. There was a reason they put those cuffs on her.
And I'm like, but hasn't she been around for 1,000 years? Didn't the gods create the Amazons 1,000 years ago? So that was her first time that she was ever experiencing that.
She's not 1,000 years old. She was the only child there.
Yeah.
Because she's the daughter of Zeus. So everyone there has been there for thousands of years, but she hasn't.
Yeah, but Zeus died a long time ago, didn't he? Oh no, sorry, Andy, you were saying something where you were
No,
responding.
no, no. I was asking the same thing, but I kept thinking, wait a minute, how old are they? I had no idea how old they were. I had no idea how long has Themyscira been around,
Yeah.
and
And
you know,
how long ago did Zeus create Diana?
Let me see if they actually bring it up in the synopsis for the film, because I kind of kept thinking, how old is Diana in this film? Like, is she like in her 30s?
Well, and that's the weird thing, is because she is ageless, right? Like, and that's a thing that because I mean, she's this age, and then in Batman vs Superman, she's the same age. So like the idea that she could be around for a really long time, but I feel like it's just really convenient that the first time that she really like recognizes something different about herself is the same day that Steve Trevor falls out of the sky. Oh, can we just talk a little bit just about just like white dude names though? Steve Rogers, played by Chris Evans. Steve Trevor, played by Chris Pine. Steve's and Chris's all over the place. And then Chris Hemsworth playing Thor. I guess Thor is not a very popular name. But anyways, like there's a lot of Chris's that are playing as superheroes, so cool. Anyways, I think we've talked for a really long time about a lot of different things. Are there any sort of last minute things or there's people, thank you if you've been tuning in live for this. There are a few viewers, and I know that usually on these things, the hosts are really great about having a chat window open and seeing if they can talk to you.
I've been checking the comments. Sadly, no comments tonight.
Okay, no, that's good. I did realize that I haven't actually been offering people the opportunity to ask questions. There were some comments on the actual ThunderQuack group when this was posted. People commenting on their own things about how they experienced the movie or what they liked about it. Most things do seem really positive about the movie, so it's great. Thank you for all the questions that you've been sending to ThunderQuack or the responses and engagement that you have beforehand. So any last sort of thoughts? What are your last thoughts on the movie, Andy, that you want to bring up?
I felt that, yeah, I mean, the only thing I can say about it is that, while the wait was long, and while, we should have had a Wonder Woman movie much sooner than this, I feel that the wait was still worth it, because, like, I keep going back and looking at this film and keep thinking, is there anything I didn't like? Was there any, like, because I don't want to be just, like, a cheerleader for the film. I want to be a critic and so, but I can't find anything. Like, I can find issues I had with maybe Logan. I can find issues definitely with Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Like, and other films that I've seen in the past like 2 to 5 years. But like this film, I'm like, I mean, I think this is my. I mean, even though I've loved all the DCU movies so far, this is my favorite now, and I feel that, and I know it might sound weird to some people out there that I can resonate more with female heroes and villains than maybe male heroes and villains. But like for me, I like when there's the scene where I really felt myself connected to this film was when we see young Diana seeing all the Amazons training. She's like doing all the punching and so on. Like I was actually like beneath my, in front of my seat. I was actually like doing that thing because I'm like that's what I want to do. I want to be able to fight. Like I would rather be trained by strong women than males, to be honest. And that doesn't mean I hate males, because like that's, I don't know. Twitter's
I very often, perhaps more often, also identify with a lot of the female heroes because I don't really identify with macho dudes.
Same here. Like, that's why.
When like I'm watching not that I haven't enjoyed a Schwarzenegger movie, obviously, but like when like the dude is just super buff and all they talk about is gruff times, we just smash things and punch things, all I want to do is fight my problems, and I'm like, that's not me. I don't really identify with that. Whereas so often the female heroes are the ones that I more identify with, and exactly. I teared up in the movie.
Yeah, and for someone like me who wanted,
I identify with Wonder Woman more than most heroes, other than like Spider-Man. But like, again, Spider-Man's a little dweeb like me.
Yeah, no, but I was saying, but that's what, like, for example, for me, like I watch so many of the DC TV shows, but like, and I'm not saying Barry Allen because I do the Flash, but like Barry Allen is like because he gets to be emotional. He gets to be like, because you know what, men can get emotional. Like, I rip on Oliver Queen.
Because of course we can, and we're taught from a very young age
exactly. Yeah, like so you're definitely like when I look at someone like so many of these superhero shows that tend to be more effective in my life than maybe some of the films. I don't have many of the male heroes to look up to. Like, I have Barry and Cisco maybe, but that's about it. Like, all the other males are kind of like, they are macho. So that's why, like, I see someone like Wonder Woman, I'm like, I can look up to, even though I know I'm not a woman, and I can never be as awesome as her, but like, I still look up to her. Because, yeah, like you know, because like,
I identify with I was saying I identify with that Wonder Woman way more than most male heroes easily, because she wasn't being like, yeah, I'm just gonna work out and punch all my problems away.
Like she connected to the universe and was trying to do something that she believed in. Or
I feel like she reacted more closer to how I would than more so than most.
Yeah, so that's why I'm so excited for this. You know, the continuation of this franchise. Like I'm glad Patty Jenkins is supposedly she is back for the sequel, and you know hopefully you don't have to wait for too long. But at the same time, if they need to take their time to make this good, I will wait 4 or 5 years if it's needed. But it's like, you know, I hope this opens up the gateway for so much more female heroes and villains for both DC and Marvel in the next.
We are getting a Captain Marvel movie in 2018, and so that'll be like, I mean, not that they'll be influenced by this. That script has been written, I'm sure, but hopefully,
really cool. You said you got to like experience Patty Jenkins like back in February. You were saying that
I was invited for a call. We were invited to this edit bay visit to see. You know, she was in post production of the film, so we got to see a couple of scenes from the film. We actually got to see the No Man's Land scene, but without the score from the film. They were actually playing the themes, the score from I think it's called something with Sunshine, something like that. And like, I mean, I got emotional. I had to hold it back because, like, you know, I'm a journalist. I have to, like, you know, be critical here. I can't start crying, but it was like, wow, like this scene. Like that's why, like, I didn't talk about so much over the scene. I just wrote my articles and just put it out there. But like, if anyone was asking for it, I was like, just wait till June. But like, yeah, I got to meet Patty Jenkins, and she like, I ended up leaving that visit feeling so damn inspired by her that I'm like, you know, this film should be called Wonder Woman. Not just because of Diana, but you know, for Patty Jenkins, for the Etta Candace, and you know, all these, you know, women, so many strong women. Like heck, even the Warner Brothers production liaison who was there presenting this to us, like before Patty came, I've never seen someone from a studio like being so freaking inspired and like excited to talk about what they were talking about. Like she was as much of a fan as we, the critics, were that were sitting in there. And you know, Patty, like Patty Jenkins, she's been trying to since 2003. She's been talking to Warner Brothers since 2003 to direct a Wonder Woman movie every year for almost 13 years, basically. So it's like this woman has earned her spot in Hollywood, and it's like you know, seeing the box office success, seeing all of this, it just makes me happy to prove that, you know, Hollywood, you're wrong. Women can be just as successful as male movies, male directors, and male writers, and male producers. It's like, you know,
her biggest thing too, and I remember, I've just been watching like a few things, is the idea that she's a director. She's not a female director, she's a director.
Exactly.
A female superhero movie. It's a superhero movie.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Is it felt like just a good superhero movie that wasn't just like it was. You see, you're glad it did. It's too late that it should have come out before. And yes, it should have. I think if this came out in the mid 2000s, we would have gotten Catwoman.
Yeah, it might not have been as the same as it was.
I think it coming out in this era of superhero movies might have done it a service. In that, not that it shouldn't have come out decades ago, but if it came out in any other decade, I think it likely would have been different. Yeah. If it came out in the 80s, we got the Supergirl movie, which is just, it's like Superman, but he's flying, but there's ponies, and she's just likes ponies, and the plot goes nowhere, and it's about makeup. And
I haven't watched it. So
it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't that girly, but like, I mean,
okay, good to know.
Finally, we have a Supergirl TV show.
But yeah, so I mean, I'm glad. I mean, that's good that you had that sort of, you've been holding stuff in for a long time, and I mean, that's cool that you got to see it. There was all this stuff beforehand too. I remember people saying that Wonder Woman wasn't being marketed properly, and they were like really worried.
I've seen it marketed everywhere.
There was a whole bunch of articles a while ago, about a month before, how it wasn't being marketed, and people
there were no spots. There were nothing. And then like one night, he just started putting out tons of them.
Yeah. And I think that a part of it too is that I wasn't being marketed Wonder Woman either, really, in my like experiences, my everyday life, because I think what happened is my mom was getting a lot of advertisements, and I think that they knew this movie was going to do well, and they knew that my demographic was actually going to hear about the reviews and go see the movie anyways, so they didn't really feel like need to market to me.
I've seen as much Wonder Woman ads as I have like Guardians ads.
Within the last month.
I will agree that there was
advertised like 6 months in advance. And stuff like that.
Yeah. There was a period of time where there was no Wonder Woman TV spots. There were no posts. There was not a lot of advertising as like maybe a Guardians of the Galaxy 2 or whatever, or as a Logan. I will admit that.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of Jezebel and Mary Sue articles about how Wonder Woman was not being advertised. So that's why I'm bringing that up. So it's just about the idea of it being a thing. That anyway, so that was just like a thought. Is that they had a really good movie, and I think they knew that they had a really good movie, and I hope that people go see it. That's the biggest thing I think right now is that it carries on its success. It is broken all of
its expectations. And it's already busted 100 million. Yeah. It's basically 2 days in.
And I have a question for you guys. But do you guys think this could be? I mean, there's always this question about superhero movies. Like, will this be the one to break into the Academy Awards? But I feel like it would be a shame if this one doesn't, because I feel like this is a different level of superhero movies.
The Academy Awards don't.
You have a very specific opinion about the Academy Awards.
About the Academy?
I care about the Academy Awards.
They award best drama to who has been in the industry for the longest.
So anyway,
it doesn't matter how good your movie is. It has to be a war drama or about two white people crying.
So let's talk about more positive stuff, right? I think that maybe they could. I mean, a lot of stuff, there has been other stuff that's nominated in different categories. I think that there's really good visual effects in this, and I think the score is amazing. I think Wonder Woman, and that was one of the biggest sort of disappointments with the movie, is that there wasn't more score actually in it. I think that the Wonder Woman score is one of the best parts about Batman v Superman. And I think that there's a lot of opportunities, and I think that hopefully they would get recognized in many capacities. Whether or not you believe that the recognition is worth anything is a different conversation.
I'm cynical. I'm saying no, it won't, because anyone who can vote won't see the movie, because they don't watch movies. What? They watch movies that they are told to watch, which are the dramas that they get paid to watch, and then they get bribed, and then they vote for their favorite drama starring Tom Hanks. They won't watch Wonder Woman.
Well, I think actually a lot of people in the industry are watching Wonder Woman.
I hope I'm wrong. I'm cynical about it, because I think the Academy doesn't give a fuck about movies. They give a fuck.
Swearing, please.
I'm sorry.
And it's the last time you saw Andrew Lynch on ThunderQuack podcast.
All right, they don't.
You need a hug, Andrew.
Movies, they care about themselves.
Okay. I understand your sentiment. There's a lot of different things about award shows. Yeah. But anyways, hopefully, Andy, I mean, do you see this being something that could maybe get in, or that would get?
I do hope. I think it will in some ways. Like maybe. I mean, yes, would it be great to see Gal Gadot and Chris Pine be nominated for female-led actor and supporting actor, male actor in a super dramatic movie. Yes, that would be great. But I'm sure something like cinematography and visual effects and choreography. I want this film to be recognized in every way it can be, because box office, critical acclaim, accolades, and so on. I feel, and also because I'm so tired of Hollywood. Whoever the people are at the Academy Awards, not thinking that these kind of genre movies doesn't matter. For them, it's more about whatever movies it is. And I just feel the superhero movies can be just as high level as something like Argo, or something like these other, like Moonlight or La La Land. La La Land? No, La La Land.
Well, then to see superhero movies, given the credit I don't believe that the Academy gives it any credit.
Well, and
just they don't give animation any credit. They're like, cartoons are for kids.
There's two animation categories, but that's okay.
They should just be in the best picture category. And the best screenplay category. And voice actors should be up for best actor, but they're not, because they don't take it seriously.
So there's different things too. I think that a lot of times they wait till the end of a franchise to put a movie in, as with the last Lord of the Rings movie. I forget which that one was. Return of the King was the only one that got nominated. But I don't know. Hopefully people will sort of notice this as a standalone. I've been talking to a lot of people about how they think this is actually really comparable to Mad Max in terms of being a big blockbuster. type of action-y movie, and it being really comparable to the same sentiments that were coming out of Mad Max. And we all know Mad Max did really well, maybe not in the primary categories that people are used to tuning into the Oscars for, but that it was getting the recognition that it deserved in many other ways. So who knows? We could see. Hopefully
I hope so. I really hope so.
In a lot of different ways. And I think that the biggest thing is just putting our dollars where our experiences are and going to see the movie as many times as we can, or encouraging our friends to go out and actually watch it in theaters, because I think that that'll make a huge difference.
No, I love being proven wrong. I was cynical. I thought Wonder Woman was going to be okay. I was expecting it to be a C-.
Yeah.
And I was blown away, and I'm so happy.
Yeah. Which is good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'm definitely curious to see what Michael Cohen from Quiver will say about this, because it was interesting that you guys because I know, like, I think not the finale, but the episodes before the finale of Quiver, you guys were like a little bit hesitant on Wonder Woman. So I'm glad that you love this, Amanda. I'm definitely wanted to see what Michael thinks.
The reason Mike's not on this is because he hasn't watched it yet. He's going tomorrow. So like if he wasn't
awesome.
No, so I'm really excited to see him watch it and see what he's going to say, because I know that he does have different opinions. But I mean, it's a good movie, and I think that, like, critically you can see, and if you're aware of movie structures and the way that narrative storytelling works, I think there's a lot of things that you can see in this film that are quite good, and I hope that that'll be carried forward in again many more viewings of it. So. Yeah, I'm interested to see what everybody hears. If you have thoughts or opinions on Wonder Woman, feel free to comment, or you can tweet us. So ThunderQuack Podcast Network. I think we're ThunderQuack Network on Twitter, so you can find us there. Give us your opinions. Let us know what you think about Wonder Woman. You can also comment on the ThunderQuack Podcast page, which is great. I think this is a Patreon podcast, actually, isn't it, Andy? Do you know if this is specifically for the Patreon subscribers, or if this is for everybody in ThunderQuack?
Well, given the fact that we were able to tweet the YouTube link to everyone, I think it's more than the Patreon thing. Because
of Patreon that it exists. So thank you to the Patreon subscribers for the ThunderQuack Network. You are correct. The sunlight is dying on us. So we'll wrap up here. So once again, my name is Amanda Konkin. I'm from the Quiver Podcast on the ThunderQuack Network and the DC TV Podcast Network. You can follow me on Twitter if you'd like to comment on anything that you've heard, or any questions for me. I'm at Konkin on Twitter, AKONKIN. You can add an 86 to that for Instagram. And DC TV Podcasts, which is also Andy's on the Flash Podcast. You can give your own little extra there. But I do want to actually mention that we are going to be doing next weekend. If you like me and Andy doing live streams and making it up as we go along, well, you are in luck, because not this weekend, but next weekend, the 17th, I believe, right? We're doing the podcast fundraiser. We do a live stream every year. It's really exciting. Thank you. It's mostly through the Flash Podcast. You guys set that up for us. So Mike,
it's thanks to everyone. It's a team effort.
But thank you. So it's exciting. So you can listen to me and Mike. Will be part of that for the Quiver Podcast, DC TV Podcast Network live stream, which will be donate or funds for the World Wildlife Foundation, which is really exciting. It's a worldwide organization, which is cool because it includes us up here in Canada and other hosts that are around the world that are part of the DC TV Podcast Network. So I'm glad that we were able to do it for everything. So speaking of DC TV Podcast Network, you can tell us a little bit more about yourself, Andy, and where people can maybe find you if they have more questions or comments.
Yeah, for my personal stuff, they can find me on my public Facebook and Twitter, Instagram pages, all at Andy Behbakht. Behbakht is spelled BHBAKHT, and on my Twitter page you can find a bio to my Herald Hollywood articles, my Flash podcast stuff, and the Marvel report that I also run. And I'm also going to be hosting a second podcast on the DC Podcast Network with the Titans podcast.
Ooh, yeah.
It's gonna be. I'm kind of nervous about doing two podcasts at the same time again, because I haven't done it since 2014, but like it'll be fine. Yes, yes, and like Amanda said, on Saturday, June 17th, at the time of recording, we're going to be doing our third annual live marathon with the World Wildlife Fund organization. We actually today we announced the schedule for it, and we're going to be starting at 10 a.m. Pacific on Saturday. So, and I know people usually used to seeing Quiver go first, but because of schedule things, it's going to be first the Flash Podcast, then Quiver with Michael and Amanda, and then we're going to have all the other shows. And I'm crossing my fingers that Amanda will be able to join us for the big Assemble show at the end.
I'm actually quite happy that it starts that we're not opening, because it means that if it's at 11 a.m. I can probably get out to Mike's house because he lives like far away, and you know, the earlier it is, the harder it is for me to get up. So I'm actually going to try to make it out to Mike's. So we might actually do a podcast in person with both of us for the live part of it, and then later on we will do I will try to stick around depending on how stuff goes, or even if I come here I can do it on my own. But yeah, we'll be part of that.
Yeah, no, I guess kind of win. That's the fun thing, because that's like that's like the only time besides the big 4-show crossovers that we have with the CW shows. That's the only time we actually get to all come together and talk about like anything DC. So and this, you know, and now that we have like 11 shows on our network, we have about like 30 hosts or something like that, I think.
It's gonna be a good day. So
it's gonna be a good day. So yeah, so please head over to DCDpodcast.com/fundraiser, and there's a donate button, so you can already start donating now. We've actually upped our goal to $1,500 this year, so you know we've been successful each year now. So if you want to help us, you know, hit a new goal, please donate. And there's going to be raffle giveaways. So you know when you donate, and we see your name, you get automatically put into a raffle. We're going to have some cool prizes. So please join next Saturday if you're a fan of live discussions.
Saturday, right?
Next Saturday, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this weekend I'm sleeping completely, because as of tonight I'm done with my TV season. I have no more TV reviews to do. I'm just gonna sleep my butt off.
Good. Cool.
I'm gonna do Lynch's Geeks versus Nerds.
So yeah, Andrew Lynch, Geeks versus Nerds. You can check out the podcast there.
Okay.
You're done. Okay, cool. So thanks for listening, or thanks for watching if you tuned in live. Again, ThunderQuack Podcast Network. We appreciate you listening, and go Wonder Woman. This has been the Wonder Woman Spoilercast. Thanks, guys.
Stay wonderful, Amazons.